We just saw, not just like a handful of years ago, this exact situation, hopefully not the same drama and outcome with the Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love, because Rodgers was pissed that Green Bay drafted Love, but he got to sit behind him for years. And now Jordan Love, with that experience sitting behind an MVP quarterback in Aaron Rodgers, got to be the best version of himself in the NFL and is now the face of the franchise. So this year, when we see the Rams have a higher than normal first round pick, everyone's assuming, right, they're going to get a win now pick. So the fact that they got Ty Simpson, a quarterback that a lot of mock drafts, a lot of professionals were claiming was not going to be taken until the second round, I think Sean McVay's reaction in the press conference, hearing Matthew Stafford's reaction after it went down, was kind of the general consensus of how all the fans in LA felt. There was a video of the Rams draft watch party where they were showing everybody watching it on the big screen, and the moment they said Ty Simpson, everybody in the crowd went, "No, what?" It just took everybody by surprise. It was the biggest surprise from the NFL draft. So I think that was the hardest thing for Rams fans and even Matthew Stafford to wrap his head around. I mean, we heard that Kelly Stafford, Matthew's wife, is the one who actually reached out to Ty Simpson after the pick. It wasn't Matthew, because that has to happen. You know, you have to be like, welcome to the team. At some point, regardless of your feelings, and if you don't agree with it, like you're going to be sharing a quarterback room. Like the Rams think this is the future. And we got to hear Sean McVay on Bussin With The Boys recently, and he kind of shared, gave us a little like pull back the curtains, behind the scenes vibe of what happened on draft night.
Decision. No, because like, how are we always balancing? And I said this before, like if you told me that we could ensure that if we took a player at 13, let's just say it's a Malachi Lemon, a Kenyon Sadiq, players that we really had a lot of appreciation for, or even a defensive player, Bain still on the board at the time. If you told me that drafting that guy would have ensured that we're going to show up at SoFi on February 14th next year and get a chance to play for a world title, I say, sign me up. We're taking that guy.
Yeah.
You know, but it doesn't work that way. And so, man, I'm hopeful Matthew plays as long as he can.
Read between the lines there. There's
a lot going on there.
You guys, this sounds like an emotional guy that knew exactly who he wanted to take and who was still on the board in that moment. I think a lot of people, especially in LA, with Malachi Lemon being at USC, grew up in SoCal, he felt like a shoo-in if he was still available. That's who the Rams were going to get as a win-now situation, especially with all the Puka Nacua drama that was going down. Right. And like there were conversations, do we extend him now? They don't need to. I think like with all the off-field drama, you just kind of let this season play out. Like let's get another wide receiver option for Matthew Stafford, because we are in the win now scenario. When you hear that, when you hear Sean McVay specifically name everybody that the Rams could have taken, to me it feels like a fresh wound still, and he's making excuses. What was your take when you heard that?
If you were dating someone and you asked, hey, what was it like? What were your feelings when we first met? And your boyfriend said, oh, I mean, yeah, I guess I could have been with Veronica or Susie or Cindy or Lisa or Abigail. Why do you still know their names? Why are they fresh on their mind? Now, Sean McVay has a computer for a brain, so I'm sure he just has he probably has the whole draft memorized.
For sure.
But I do feel that yet again we are drawn back into the Ty Simpson convo. Every time I feel we've moved past it and gearing up for the year, we get some kind of soundbite or article or reason to go back and think, okay, why did they draft Ty Simpson? So on one hand, quarterbacks, especially rookie quarterbacks, are being failed by the NFL. They are, for the past really 5 years, They are being drafted into places, expected to turn the entire thing around, even though the reason you were able to draft me early is because you were terrible next year, right?
Yeah.
And they were set up to fail. And I do appreciate that finally we see an example of a team drafting a quarterback and making it clear he is not playing this year, because that's how it used to be.
Yeah.
Tom Brady sat. Aaron Rodgers sat. The best quarterbacks used to sit before the status quo changed. However, the gripe with the Ty Simpson pick is this. On one hand, you always want to draft a quarterback before you need one.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of it, you want to have proof that this is the guy. And I feel that Ty Simpson, only having 15 games under his belt, he has played 15 games of college football.
That's insane.
The most recent of those games, he got benched in the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
We're going to sit here and play the PR game, and Kalen DeBoer said the right things at Alabama, and no, the game was out of hand. Why was he got benched? Because he wasn't playing up to his performance, and there were some shaky moments. So the question that Les Snead has to answer is, why Ty Simpson? Because he's going to get practice reps, and he's going to learn from Matthew Stafford. They're going to watch film early in the morning and late at night. He's going to learn from Sean McVay, but you need game reps. And I would prefer to draft a college quarterback who has 4 years of game reps, 3 years of game reps, because you're not going to play for 2 years. And I know you know how to handle yourself when the bullets are real, right? So there are a ton of questions, and Les Snead or Sean McVay are going to have to continue answering these, because right now 1 + 1 is equaling 3.
So let me tell you, because you have to understand the backstory of Ty Simpson, okay? And the relationship that his family has with Les Snead, okay? Because if we all knew this, if we all knew the details of this a year ago, I don't think anyone would be surprised. His father is friends with Les Snead. Ty Simpson's father is friends with Les Snead. And Ty Simpson's dad went to Snead for advice on whether Ty should enter the draft or not. And it is being reported that Snead told Mr. Simpson that Ty would be a first-round pick. I mean, the writing is on the wall right there. If we all knew that, then none of us should have been surprised when this went down.
The Les Snead thing is so interesting, because this is so against type for him. He is a win-now guy. You go back to the Odell Beckham trade. We can get Odell Beckham, we're getting Odell Beckham. We can get Von Miller, we're getting Von Miller. I don't care what draft capital, I don't care what it costs. Him famously wearing the shirt after the Super Bowl, getting off the private plane saying F them pick. So to all of a sudden make a pick in the most win-now Super Bowl year that you've had as GM of the Rams, now you're making a pick for the future.
Yeah.
You need an explanation, and until we get one, I do feel it's impossible to ignore the connection that you're talking about.
No, this pick, Ty Simpson, was a homie pick. This was a homie pick for his friend, Mr. Simpson. But, I don't want to diminish the talent that Ty Simpson has. And that's, I think, the saddest thing of this whole situation, because honestly, Ty won the draft. He is going into the best situation possible. And who knows? If he sits behind Matthew Stafford and has the coaching and the mentorship from Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay over the next 2, maybe 3 years, he could develop into an incredible quarterback in the NFL, especially with Sean McVay, who is like a quarterback whisperer.
Yeah.
So this was best case scenario for Ty Simpson. And if it plays out, if he ends up being a great NFL quarterback, this is going to look like a brilliant move by Les Snead.
It is.
But also when you say, they're in the win now, their win now move with the first round was when they traded for McDuffie. That was their first round win now move, because corner was where they were the weakest. They are the most complete team in the NFL, which is why they are Super Bowl faves. But the McDuffie trade is why that was where's the win now move in the first round? That's the win now move. It was very rare that the Rams have this high of a first round pick. I don't think they're going to have this high of a first round pick again. And if they really believe And I'm hoping this is more of a belief opposed to a homie pick that Ty Simpson is the guy. And I want to root. I love rooting for people who are doubted. And he's coming into a situation, I think, just because of the surprise of how high he went, that he's probably going to be doubted. But if he can prove everybody wrong and turn out to be the future for the Rams, that's incredible.
They
that
entered
can be
the draft.
incredible.
Yeah, they entered the draft with no needs. Every single need, really even all the wants, were already checked off. They were young in the right places, and they were built to go win a Super Bowl. So you're playing with house money.
Yeah.
So why not get a Makai Lemon? Why not get a Kenyon Sadiq in this tight end heavy system?
Mm-hmm.
Why not trade back and get more capital and snag Omar Cooper Jr., who got drafted late first round? Like there were a lot of things that you could have done to win now, as opposed to drafting the quarterback of the future. And now that unfair pressure will be on Ty Simpson's shoulders because of the situation that he's in.
The good news is now with this Matthew Stafford extension, 2 years, possibly more. He's 38 years old. Like,
we'll
again,
see.
It all depends on how healthy he is at the end of the season.
It's just a question of why. Like, why? Okay, if you go back 2 years and you see Anthony Richardson, I would have no gripes drafting an Anthony Richardson. Here is a machine of a man who has the strongest arm we've seen in college football. Okay, sit 2 years and learn. But when you look at Ty Simpson, he had success at Alabama, but I have not seen a specific trait that made Les Snead go, oh, I want that in my room. I want to curate and manipulate and refine that specific skill set. Until we see that specific skill set that made him pull that trigger, there's going to be a giant question mark.
So, and I think what kind of led to everybody going down that path was Sean McVay's energy, right? Yeah. Sean McVay's attitude. And on draft night, when they went and did that post-game presser together, that was the story. Mm-hmm. And he was asked about it recently on the Bussin With The Boys podcast, and he explained the energy.
Great night for Ty and his family. Excited, that we have a potential guy, but also respectful and mindful of the fact that I don't want this to be misunderstood. I'm super grateful that Matthew Stafford is our guy. And so I would have been naturally just a little bit more reserved, but then there's other things that you're dealing with. And so if you said, hey, if you had that over again, how would you be? I would have made sure that I wasn't mentally resilient to be able to snap out of some things that I was bothered about that had nothing to do with what the interpretation was. I missed the boat big time. Mm-hmm. And what I felt bad about is it became a story. Right. And really that, it looked like Les and I weren't connected. Yeah. And my vibe was off. We always talk about the energy. That was bad energy that night. Bad vibe.
Can't win them all.
I was an energy vampire.
Like, you heard him. You all heard him. He said that there was a moment. He didn't want to take away from the positivity of Ty, but he did because there was a moment that he wasn't happy about.
And Chris Sims on, I don't know if it was his podcast or his show that he has, said that he spoke to Sean McVay and revealed something I'm sure Sean McVay didn't want him to reveal, which is, no, we had a argument. It just wasn't about what you think it's about. Obviously, the pick was not something Sean McVay was over the moon about. Yes, they sat with Ty Simpson and vetted him, and there was enough for Les Snead, who at the end of the day, as long as he's on board with the pick, that's the only thing that matters. But it is very clear, no matter what Sean McVay thinks of Ty Simpson as a player, Sean McVay may have thought Ty Simpson's the best quarterback in this draft. I do feel we're at a point where all that being said, it still wasn't the guy that Sean was hoping to get there.
If you're having an argument, from the moment that you made your first round pick to when you are walking to the podium to do a presser where the whole sports world is going to feel and see your reaction, there's no way that argument wasn't about what just happened. Like, there is absolutely no way.